G'day guys and welcome back to the channel. So this video is going to be quite a different one for me. It's going to be more of a I stuffed up and you get to laugh at me video. But it's also a warning to everybody else out there, whether you're a four-wheel driver or not. This is going to serve as a warning for everyone, I hope. And it's about the proper use of your jack. Now I'm not talking about high lift jacks. We've all heard bloody horror stories of high lift jacks, and it's one of the reasons I don't use one. I've also got no point on my vehicle other than the tow bar that I can actually use one. This is about your standard bottle jacks, scissor jacks, whatever it might be that you have in your vehicle from when you go out off-roading. See, recently I was out on a trip with a mate of mine, Nathan. That video will actually be the next one to release. And we got pulled over by the coppers on the way over, or I did anyway, and just got pulled over for an RBT, which is obviously all clear. I won't drink and drive. But the copper had a bit of a walk around the padge, and he noticed that one of my tyres was really worn on the outside. And gave me a warning about it. I said, look, I'll put the spare on when I leave the bush. The reason I didn't run the spare already is because it was a highway terrain. I didn't have an all-terrain for a spare. So I just ran the all-terrain, and all it was my camber had been out on the passenger side rear, and I didn't realise because I rarely walk around the passenger side of the vehicle. And it had worn the outside of the tyre. My fault, something I had to get fixed. So, yeah, coppers gave me a warning about that. Told him before I hit tarmac again, I will put the spare on, keep it legal and keep him happy. So now on the way out of doing our trip, I was jacking the car up to put the spare on. I was using the OEM jack that came with the Pajero, and I will admit I was using a jack base plate which was provided to me by Pack Off-Road. Now guys, don't get me wrong, I'm not sitting here bagging out Pack Off-Road. That's not what this video is about. But I was given this jacking plate which was for OEM jacks, and I was given the plate and asked to do a video on it. So I thought, okay, well I'll utilise this opportunity and I'll do the video. All honesty, I didn't need it. Maybe I shouldn't have used it. Who knows? Again, I'm not throwing all blame on Pack Off-Road or the jacking plate for this. So look, to cut a long story short, let's go through the video together and I'll tell you where I've screwed up, what I've done wrong, and where I need to really change things. As you can see in this section here, the outside of the tyre here is really worn compared to the inside, and that's where the coppers had the issue with it. And look, I understand it is a safety hazard. It's down past its legal wear point. So now we're around underneath the car. And as you can see here, the Pajero has two jacking points. It has the one on the inside close to the wheel and then the one on the outer side a little bit closer to the diff. As you can see though, the jacking plate here is actually hitting the tyre. So with the jack being centered, it's not matching up with that jacking point properly. So I ended up having to opt to use the outside one, which, flick a bit further forward. And there we go, we're finally set up on the outside one. You can see the other one just on the inside there, right close to the wheel. Let's use the mouse just here. You can see the other one. So there are the two jacking points. They are Mitsubishi recommended jacking points. Now before we do go any further, I will say this ground here is not perfectly level. It's on a very, very slight downhill slope towards the passenger side of the vehicle. So that's my fault. Part one is that I wasn't on level ground. But let's be honest, when you're out in the bush, how often are you really going to find level ground? So this is the base plate from Pack Off-Road. Again, I'm not sitting here to bag them out. And now we'll get in and we'll show you where I believe the issues came in. Okay, so now I've just started to jack the car up, and I am noticing, I've got to do this with the mouse, that it's pushing in just a little bit here on the plate, and it seems to be lifting here. So that is an indication right away that the jacking plate itself, or the jack itself, is not level. I did notice that pretty early on, and I should have stopped and maybe reset. As we get a little bit further up, there's actually a point around about here somewhere. So just there, if you hear that, I mentioned that it's not looking too stable. And I'm noticing that it's sinking in quite considerably more. So I'm noticing that this jack is not straight. This is where I was complacent, I was lazy. And this is where you guys also need to make sure you don't do the same thing. So I'm talking to Nathan here about that, and I'm saying that it looks like it's going to drop. It doesn't look good. I'm not happy with it. But I still continued on. So, yeah, I was a dickhead. I was an absolute idiot for doing it, and this could have ended up so much worse. But again, you can notice the jack sinking there, whether that is from the jack simply not being level to start with, the fact that the car wasn't on perfectly level ground, or be it a fault of the plate, I don't know. I'm putting it down more so than anything to my complacency, because I did notice that the jack was in this position and I should have stopped, I should have let it down, I should have reset it, and if need be, I should have maybe just not used the plate and just jacked it straight off the ground. So coming up here, we're just about to get the wheel off, and that's where everything just turns completely pear-shaped. Here we go, the wheel's about to come off here. I'll roll back just a touch. So Nathan's taken the wheel off. I'm standing there. He kept trying to smack me in the head with a tyre iron. And here he goes, taking the wheel off. And here goes shit. I was, in a sense, lucky that the jack plate was actually there, because it didn't damage any of the vehicle. It didn't damage underneath the control arms or my brakes or anything like that. But it went to shit. And as you can clearly see, that jack is on a massive lean. I should have, by all means guys, I should have stopped and reset that jack. I should have maybe just removed the jack plate altogether and just gone from that. But I didn't, and this is the outcome. So, my stupidity, it's something I've done on myself. Do I think the plate had something to do with it? Look, I do. I feel that the rubber mat you can see on the plate here played a part to it. And I'll give you a better look at what happened in a second. But I do feel that that rubber mat played a part. But moreover than anything, guys, I was complacent. I was lazy. I was rushing things. I just wanted to get it over and done with. Nobody likes changing tyres. And I thought, stuff it, it'll be alright. I'll be fine. And yeah, we all just saw what happened. And yeah. Down she goes. So have a look at that from a different perspective here. So Nathan actually puts a little bit of pressure on the car there, which probably didn't help at all. But look, at the end of the day, you're just lucky that nobody was actually under the car. And again, it's my stupidity, it's my fault. I'm the one to blame, I'm the idiot. But it is what it is. So now we'll just have a quick look at the plate itself. This, what you can see here, is the Pack Off-Road base plate. The rusty marks that you can see there show where my jack was sitting, because in the rubber matting just here, there was actually a groove where the jack had squashed down and squashed into it. So after getting it home, I took some photos for Pack Off-Road and I sent it to them. Let them know what happened and everything. They're taking the footage I've got and they're taking it to their R&D department to have a look and see if the plate itself may have been at fault, or if it was all on me. And look, I'm not saying that the plate is at fault. I think 90% of it definitely is on me. I do think that rubber mat, though, because it does provide a soft surface, played a little bit of a part in it. It allowed that jack to sink. I feel if it was a hard surface, it wouldn't have started to tilt like it did in the other footage. So you see there, that's where the jack was sitting. Maybe not quite perfectly centered, but it was pretty darn close. Skip through this. So I recorded this to try and do it a little bit differently, but I wasn't happy with the footage. Now these plates are rated at 20 tonne. 20 tonnes of pressure. That is flat pressure. When the jack started to tilt, like you saw in that first video, all that pressure, all that weight is just on that really thin edge. As it started to tilt like it is here, all that pressure is on that thin edge, and that's where it just got worse and worse and worse before finally coming down. So skip through, and you can see here where eventually it's come down and it's actually pushed and squashed these ribs on the plate. Again, they're rated at 20 tonnes, but not on a knife's edge. They're rated at 20 tonne to be a flat, spread out load, not sitting on a really thin, sharp edge. So, because the jack did tilt, and because I didn't readjust it, this is what happened. So yeah, it's broken here. It's taken a couple of chips out here and here, etc. Squashed it down a little bit there. I've shown a couple of other mates and whatnot this footage and the photos and everything that were done, and they've said two things to me. One, a third ring running around here, and I've mentioned this to Pack Off Road, but a third ring to run around the outer edge here just to provide a bit of extra strength, like these two in the middle, and ditch the rubber mat. Use an aluminium or a stainless steel one or something like that, but ditch the rubber, because they all seem to think much like I do, that the rubber mat allowed it to sink, it allowed it to soften, and then all that weight starts getting onto one edge, and that's when it didn't go to plan. So, look, the vehicle itself, the reason for the jack actually leaning in the first place, I'm not saying is because of the plate. Very well could be. I don't know. I'm no engineer. I'm no expert. When you do look at the OEM jacks here for the Pajeros, the bottle itself is right on that edge. So that all that weight as you're pushing down, all that weight is on the top there, and therefore coming down on this side. This is the lighter side, and when you're jacking, it actually effectively sort of starts to lift this side. So that I think is the bigger issue, is the fact that maybe the Pajero jack is too small for these plates, and that the weight being all on one side like it is. I've just gone and bought a new jack from Autobarn, and it is dead centered. The bottle itself is right in the center, where I feel these probably should be too, but I know a lot of them aren't. But I think there were a number of factors at play with this, but before anything, and the biggest part of it, was my complacency. Me just wanting to rush through it, be lazy, and get the job done. I should have stopped and reset the jack. I should have repositioned it and everything. So, anyway, guys, as mentioned, I'm not sitting here trying to bag out Pack Off Road or their base plates. Yes, I do feel it played some part in what happened, but more so than anything, it was my own complacency. It was my laziness. And I think that is where the big problem came in. If somebody had been under that car, if I had been under there still like I was when I was setting the plate and things like that, or if Nathan had been under trying to do something else or whatever, one of us could have been seriously injured or killed. So that was on me, guys. That's my complacency, me being lazy. And that's why I'm doing this video, to serve as a warning to all you guys not to do the same thing, not to be so lazy. Pack Off Road, as I said, I have spoken to them. I've sent them photos and all that sort of stuff to show what's happened and where things have gone wrong. I've sent them photos of the plate I've sent them photos from the original footage. And they've sent me a new plate. And in the package for the new plate was a return bag for the old one. So I've sent the old one back to them. They have told me they're going to speak to the R&D department and see if maybe if they can replicate the problem. You know, they might sit there and mess around and try and replicate the problem. And if they find that the plate was partly to blame, maybe they'll make a few changes. As I said, I think either a third ring or a third ring underneath it, or a steel plate of some sort, rather than the rubber mat. And look, even both could come in quite handy. I think they will help, but if you're going to be complacent and lazy when using the product or just using a jack in general, then that's the risk you face. And that's what this video is about, is not to bag Pack Off-Road, not to bag the product, but to warn you guys not to be lazy and not to be complacent. So, alright guys, anyway, I'm going to cut it at that. I think that basically goes through and shows everything. Yeah, so you can see where it's broken, you can see where the jack was sitting, where the rubber mat is. Look, being that it is a soft rubber mat, I do still strongly believe that played a part, but it wouldn't have played that part if the jack wasn't on the lane to start with. So, and all I needed to do was reset the jack and reposition it. So, alright guys, so that's it for me. I hope you've liked this video. If you have, please remember to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And moreover than anything guys, don't be complacent when using a jack. Our four-wheel drives especially are 2.5 ton plus vehicles, and if that comes down on top of you, you're in for a world of hurt. So yeah, don't be complacent when using your jacks guys, whether it be on a plate, whether it be a high lift jack, a normal bottle jack, scissor jack, trolley jack, whatever. Don't be complacent. Before you get under the vehicle, make sure you've got something there to support it. I know when I'm doing work on my car, I always use jack stands before I get under it. Don't just rely on your jack. And yeah, just don't be lazy with it guys, don't be complacent. Be bloody careful. Alright guys, that's it for me. Take care, peace, and as always, I'll see you on the tracks. Hey, thanks for watching. If you haven't already subscribed, please click here to do so. And check out the video at the top here. YouTube reckons you'll like that one too. Alright, see you on the tracks.